Welcome, everybody, to this week's edition of Valpo Football Weekly. Brandon Vickery with you. We're brought to you by our friends at Lakeshore Bone and Joint Institute. And I'm glad to be joined via Zoom by the head coach of the Valpo football program, Landon Fox, as we look back at last week's game at Dartmouth and get you ready for this week's homecoming game and the PFL opener against San Diego. And let's start with this past week, and let's start on the offensive side of the ball. What did you maybe like about the way you were able to move the football on Saturday? And then what do you want to do differently in terms of finishing some of those drives?
Yeah, we were able to move the ball, from 20 to 20. And so, some of that being, on the ground, but, a decent also through the air. And I thought Mikey Apple did a nice job in terms of his ability to complete, balls over the middle and tight windows. And so we knew that going into the game, and we did take advantage of it, made some good catches by a number of guys. Evan Jernigan did a nice job in terms of catching the ball over the middle. And so like the fact that we were able to move the ball and execute the game plan, but then we get down inside the 20, and then you have to have the ability to score points and score touchdowns against good teams. And, we didn't do that. And we had two chances there in the fourth quarter, to make it a one-score game. And, it looks like 13 it was. And the reality is you got to score a touchdown and make it, 28-20 to give yourself a chance to tie the ball game at the end of the game. And just with our inability to do that, kept us from, making it a one possession game.
You mentioned Evan Jernigan there. I wanted to follow up with you about him. What stood out to you about his ability to make big plays as a redshirt freshman at the tight end position?
Yeah, I think, Brandon, you and I may have spoke about this in the preseason, or, I did with somebody, but, he's a guy that we knew from last year, and his ability, in scout team, and you see those things, and guys, the players, I just don't think understand enough, that's when they're growing, and that's when they're learning. And, you saw it down there, and we got excited about the fact that you knew that he could be a very good tight end for us. So it was very little surprise to us that, he has that ability to make those kind of catches.
Let's talk about defense. On the defensive side of the ball, what made slowing down Dartmouth's running game so challenging on Saturday?
Yeah, I'd say, Brandon, that was one of probably the worst defensive performances that I've been a part of. And it's not about me, it's about us and the team. And so, we got to go back and make sure that we're just doing our job and our responsibility and executing the game plan. And we as coaches need to make sure that we're putting the guys in the best positions as possible. First and foremost, that's on us. And then the players have to do a great job of then executing the game plan and being in gap control, having edges to the defense. And so when you look back, it was more self-inflicted than more than what they were doing to us. And so that was disappointing, extremely disappointing on our end that we have to execute at a much higher level defensively to be successful.
You played an extremely challenging non-conference schedule, a ranked NAIA very good program, and then two FCS teams that are receiving votes nationally. How does playing that type of schedule prepare you for what's next, which is PFL play?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing is it's exciting to play those kind of teams, but what you got to do is you have to find ways to win the games. And easily had an opportunity to beat Illinois State, and would have been great for the program. And then again, make it a situation in a Dartmouth game where you have a chance to win at the end of the game. And we can do those things, but it's more about us than it is about them. And that's kind of what you're asking, well, it prepares us to execute at a higher level. And hey, here's where we have to get better at as we move forward into league play.
What would it be like to have the homecoming atmosphere, and how special is it for the players to represent the university on a homecoming stage in front of what figures to be a big crowd this week?
Yeah, I'm sure the environment is going to be awesome in terms of just the homecoming and community, students. That part of it is very exciting. And to me, it's just unbelievable for our football team, and just to generate that kind of excitement for the program. But what it also is, it does, we go out there and play for the name in the front of our chests, and that's Valpo. And you're playing for those guys that played in the past. You're playing for the guys that are playing presently, and ultimately you're playing for those guys that are going to be playing in the future. And you're going to have 50 recruits here, checking out the game. And so I think there's a lot of excitement, but there's a lot to play for. Just besides, you yourself, and it's to me, it's way more meaningful than that.
And let's talk about the opponent, San Diego, a team that, as anyone who's followed the league has known, it's been a very good program for a long time. What do you expect from this year's version of the Toreros?
Same thing. I mean, it's the same thing, and that's why they do such a good job. It's the same thing over and over and over. Like, they're not changing defensive schematics, they're not changing offensive schematics. It's just one of those things that they just do it over and over and over. And majority of the time, they're playing with older guys, and this year they have a couple of transfers that are helping them offensively, transfer running back, transfer quarterback, and so they're gonna make you execute at a high level. And I know I keep saying that, but it's just the reality of the situation in the game of football, that you have to execute for a long period of time, and that's what's gonna have to take 60 minutes, of execution and unbelievable effort to come out on top.
Larry is the head coach of the Valpo football program, Landon Fox. It's going to be a fun day on Saturday. For ticket information, valpoathletics.com/tickets. It's a noon kickoff between Valpo and San Diego on homecoming Saturday to kick off PFL play. And we'll talk to you again next week on Valpo Football Weekly, brought to you by Lakeshore Bone and Joint Institute.